Hello there. Seems there's been a bit of controversy within the MAGA leadership, where Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy said certain things that the wider voting public finds very controversial. So let's get on to it. Silicon Valley's biggest limitation. This is from a guy named Mario Norfol. I have no idea who he is, but he sparked this discussion with this post, so let's read it. Silicon Valley's the biggest limitation, engineering talent shortage. The US semiconductor industry alone needs over 160,000 engineers by 2032, driven by $250 billion plus in new investments. Demand for AI experts has skyrocketed, with Elon calling the talent war the craziest ever. Meanwhile, STEM programs struggle to produce enough graduates. This shortage threatens innovation from AI to semiconductors, slowing progress and global competitiveness. Expanding STEM education, streamlining high-skilled immigration, and reskilling workers are urgent solutions. Investing in talent is investing in the future. That's what this post says. And Elon Musk responded, saying there is a permanent shortage of excellent engineering talent. It is the fundamental limiting factor in Silicon Valley. And he says here, we need more than double that number. Yesterday, the number of people who are super talented engineers and super motivated in the USA is far too low. Think of this like a pro sports team. If you want your team to win the championship, you need to recruit the top talent wherever they may be. That enables the whole team to win. So he's saying that about H-1B visa workers, so that we need double the number of those, and more than that, essentially. And people were quite mad at him for that, essentially thinking that he is sacrificing the good of the American people in order for Silicon Valley to prosper, essentially. Basically, passing over Americans for these jobs in favor of foreign workers who are willing to work for less pay and easier to handle. And Vivek Ramaswamy basically gave an explanation for his view on the matter, saying the reason top tech companies often hire foreign-born and first-generation engineer over Native Americans isn't because of an innate American IQ deficit, a lazy and wrong explanation. A key part of it comes down to the C-word culture. Tough questions demand tough answers, and if we're really serious about fixing the problem, we have to confront the truth. Our American culture has venerated mediocrity over excellence for way too long, at least since the 90s and likely longer. That doesn't start in college, it starts young. A culture that celebrates the prom queen over the math Olympiad champ or the jock over the valedictorian will not produce the best engineers. A culture that venerates Corey from Boy Meets World or Zack and Slater over Screech in Saved by the Bell or Stefan over Steve Urkel in Family Matters will not produce the best engineers. Fact, I know multiple sets of immigrant parents in the 90s who actively limited how much their kids could watch these TV shows precisely because they promoted mediocrity, and their kids went on to become wildly successful STEM graduates. More movies like Whiplash, fewer reruns of Friends, more math tutoring, fewer sleepovers, more weekend science competitions, fewer Saturday morning cartoons, more books, less TV, more creating, less chilling, more extracurriculars, less hanging out at the mall. Most normal American parents look skeptically at those kinds of parents. More normal American kids view those kinds of kids with scorn. If you grow up aspiring to normalcy, normalcy is what you will achieve. Now close your eyes and visualize which families you know in the 90s or even now who raise their kids according to one model versus the other. Be brutally honest. Normalcy doesn't cut it in a hyper-competitive global market for technical talent. And if we pretend like it does, we'll have our asses handed to us by China. This can be our Sputnik moment. We've awakened. I don't believe that's the right way to construct a sentence. We've awakened from slumber before and we can do it again. Trump's election hopefully marks the beginning of a new golden era in America, but only if our culture fully wakes up. A culture that once again prioritizes achievement over normalcy, excellence over mediocrity, neatness over conformity, hard work over laziness. That's the work we have cut out for us rather than wallowing in victimhood and just wishing or legislating alternative hiring practices into existence. I'm confident we can do it, he says. People are quite mad at this. They find it insulting to their culture. They find it as if he's claiming that the Indian culture is superior. They start quoting all the statistics about how much worse it is to live in India and how They have lower test scores, how in terms of health outcomes and all sorts of problems that the US doesn't have, like training people to use the toilet. People took it quite badly. He also mentioned how Indians are known to be very nepotistic, and basically they are taking over Silicon Valley with the CEOs of many large US companies being Indian. They claim that this is also a result of DEI hiring, where basically, I have it here. Major US companies gave 94% of new jobs to people of color in 2021, report says. That's according to Bloomberg. So essentially, what they're saying is, guys, the US is majority white. 6% of jobs in the the major companies, the S&P 500. No, it's S&P 100, right? The top 100 companies. So the top 100 companies gave 6% of new jobs to white people, and the majority of people in America are white people. Something doesn't add up. It's not as though white people who basically built all those companies and created all those products, who basically the root of innovation starts with the Western civilization, and Asians usually take it and perfect it. They have their advantages, I'm not saying they don't, but they are not usually the ones who come up with new products, typically, statistically speaking. So it's not as though these white applicants are all bad, it's that there is very large discrimination. And basically you have people putting stories themselves, their family members, their friends have, where they graduated with good grades and then they were completely ignored, not even allowed a single interview. Meanwhile, their friends in the same course who got less impressive grades but were people of color, not to say that they bested all people of color in their course, just saying that some of the people who did less well than they in the course, according at least to their testimony, were people of color who got jobs despite having less grades. So essentially what people are saying is there's a huge discrimination against white applicants. This is why you have a talent shortage. Before you go abroad and try and bring in more foreign workers, first correct this injustice, which has been prevalent for years and which has been ongoing against specifically this kind of people who voted for you and gave you this office. And also you promised to do away with DEI. You promised to have meritocracy. Why are you not having a meritocracy at home and instead looking abroad to fill in the gap created by this lack of meritocracy? So people took it very badly. The response was overwhelmingly negative to both Elon Musk as well as Vivek Ramaswamy, and it seems they both backtracked on it to an extent. This is a clarification from Elon Musk. Maybe this is a helpful clarification. I'm referring to bringing in via legal immigration the top 0.1% or so of engineering talent is being essential for America to keep winning. This is like bringing in the Jokic or Wembleys of the world to help your whole team, which is mostly Americans, win the NBA. Thinking of America as a pro sports team that has been winning for a long time and wants to keep winning is the right mental construct. People have been dunking on this still, saying that H-1B salary data is public. A quick scroll through will show you that the H-1B program has nothing to do with talent. Basically, it's about hiring cheap workers. And then they also have the same thing with Vivek Ramaswamy, essentially saying that he used to be against this very same thing, the H-1B product, saying that GOP candidate Vivek Ramaswamy about to gut the system for H-1B visas, temporary worker visas, if he wins the White House. So why did you flip on it? Essentially, he claims he did not, he did not flip on it, saying that he long said the current H-1B system is badly broken and needs to be gutted. It shouldn't use a lottery. It should be based on pure merit. It shouldn't tether workers to just one corporation. Same principles I favor today. So I think he basically, how to put it, either backtracks this or trying to claim that people misunderstood him. One of the main reasons I think people are very much against expanding these working visas is that they think that this will increase competition. Essentially, if you have to compete against the entire world, you have a far larger supply of talent and the same demand for talent from corporations, resulting in far lower salaries. And people are very mad at the cost of living already and the buying power being reduced year by year. and essentially fearing that this will make it even better for corporations to operate in the US than it already is, which is essentially the best it has ever been for corporations anywhere ever. Meanwhile, it will make it worse for working Americans. Essentially, they're saying that they want America to be a good place for Americans to live more than they want America to be the leading global power in tech industry. So there is a conflict of interest, essentially, between those innovators who live in Silicon Valley, perhaps detached from the average working Americans, feeling that they want to do the best by their companies, and the people who want the best for themselves. Essentially saying, you are no longer just tech moguls, now you are also elected officials representing the people who voted for you, and you are expected to put our interests first, say the people. And that means not expanding the H-1B visas and not hiring abroad before you at least try and do justice by the people who want to work, have the ability to work, but are essentially blocked from it through DEI. And also the prioritization of profits over people should stop, meaning that even if you can hire cheap Indian labor through H-1B visas, you shouldn't. Instead, you should motivate companies to hire Americans with proper salaries by limiting the H-1B visas or even cutting them altogether. So this essentially is, I think, one of the first big problems, big debates within the right post-election. People are feeling slightly more comfortable, slightly more secure, and so they are definitely willing to get into these arguments, because essentially today the right wing has a very wide tent with a lot of very different people, very different walks of life and opinions. It's basically globalists versus everyone else, and everyone else might not be able to agree on many issues once the enemy outside no longer forces them to come together to the same extent. That said, I think this is a false perception. I think that we won just a single round. It was an important victory, but by no means a major breakthrough in terms of trying to stop the craziness that comes from the World Economic Forum, the UN, and similar places. So I think this is premature infighting from the right. Still, I don't think it's that bad. We have a debate. I hope they understood why they were pushed back and that they accepted this. I know that Trump has been against H-1B visas, saying that he used them for business because it was a good financial decision, but that they were awful for workers, and as president he is against them. So I doubt that this is actually going to become government policy. And incidentally, I've seen something a bit similar in the video game space, where basically there's a pushback against DEI sort of forcing the perceptions, the political opinions of the left, the sort of crazy globalist left, into every product. And once there was a bit of a success in pushing back, essentially a string of very failed DEI-infested games compared to a few successes, major successes of games that were not like completely devoid of this agenda. People felt more relaxed, and there was a controversy with a content creator called Melanie Mack, who essentially started pushing the idea that we need to limit in some way the sensuality of women from a right-wing, more Christian perspective. Essentially, the left says women should look like transgenders in video games, basically. I'm slightly exaggerating, but only slightly. They look very masculine, ugly, old, etc. in left-wing video games today, which is pretty much all major titles from the West. And so there's been a very strong backlash against this, saying bring back beautiful women. And there's even been a bit of a slight overcorrection, in my opinion, where basically people celebrate more lewd, not by any means pornographics, but slightly lewd depictions of women in video games. And I think that's fine. I personally prefer something a bit more classy, a bit sensual, but not too much. But that's personal opinion. I'm not advocating for any sort of censorship. If you like it, enjoy, go ahead. Anyway, so essentially Melanie Mack was sort of reminding people of the more Christian-minded type of censorship that we had before the woke took over, and she got a big backlash for it. And some people came out for and against the idea. But the point of it all is people are feeling less pressured by the, globalist, crazy type of left. And as a result, the disagreements between the people who created this big tent of just resisting DEI are starting to come into the fore. I think this is only temporary. I think we're going to be very, very pressured very soon. If you read websites that YouTube does not like, stuff about Alex Jones, for example, then you might have an inkling about things that could be coming down the pipeline. And if you read about all of the inventions and innovations in all sorts of sectors to do with removing privacy and tracking everyone, and sort of medicine related innovations, then you might think that the next round with DEI is going to be even worse, and it's coming very soon. And that will cause all of these disagreements within the right to essentially be swallowed down once more in favor of the existential fight for freedom. If we ever get to the point where DEI is truly defeated completely, which in my opinion is nowhere near, because in order to do that, in my opinion, you'd have to take down not just the UN, the World Economic Forum, all of the large names like BlackRock, Vanguard, Bill Gates, the George Soros, etc. But I believe even the central banking system just will have to be torn down for that to happen. Even if you managed that, which I don't believe could happen in my lifetime at all, you would still, how to put it? If you manage to do all of that, then you wouldn't have the time to spare for the disagreements between people who are grounded in reality and love for their country, but disagree on how that country should look. That's the kind of disagreement I think that we have with people like Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk. That's the kind of disagreement I saw within the video game space on the right. And yeah, it's not going to be resolved anytime soon, because we won't have time and energy to spare for it. That's my take. Take it with a grain of salt. I thought it was an interesting debate, truly, to see sort of the... I don't want to call them the experts, because the left completely took that moniker out of context and basically made it a paid liar, a shill, an empty suit. But these are like tech experts, people who had success in their own sector. And they essentially say, this is what my sector needs in order to be able to contribute more and keep up with the times and compete, etc. And then you have the everyday people who are telling the experts, look, there's more to the world than just your area of expertise. You are looking at things through a very narrow point of view that excludes us and what is good for us and what is necessary for us to be able to prosper as a society. And you need to tone it down. There are other priorities too to take into account. I think I remember something of the sorts in F.A. Hayek's Road to Serfdom, incidentally, being raised. Like, don't let the experts rule you, and they will always take this kind of point of view by default. It's their nature. They live within that world, they compete within that world, and they can think of all of the great things that they could do if only society was more oriented towards their needs and the needs of their sector. Basically, if you work at it every day and you can see all of the problems that hinder you and all of the progress that could be made, then it's natural to view the possible future, if only, and to fixate on that. Luckily, we didn't vote President Ramaswamy, we voted President Trump, and I think he's more of a man of the people and more down to earth than them. So hopefully it will not be a recurring problem that will create a rift within the right. Thanks for watching, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.